What's up, everyone? This is Tom with Team Topeka, and we've got a Tuesday night cyclocross practice race for you all today. I've never done one of these. I've never recorded a voiceover, but I have recorded many of my bike racing experiences over the last many years, and I figured, hey, let's give it a try. And just like Tuesday Night Cross, it being a practice race, I'm giving this a little bit of a practice. So here we are on September 2nd, Tuesday Night Cross put on by the great Tanner and the Flyers teams. Big shout out to them for always making our fall season a lot of fun by setting up a different course every week at Anderson Park here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We got a good crew lined up, ready to race the A race. Tanner's given us our initial instructions. He's going to line up, and then we're going to be off. Something to note, I did have some trouble with my front-facing camera memory card, and it ended up corrupting several of the files, and I only have about 8 minutes of the front-facing camera. So here, me, my friends, all the people in Tulsa who love cyclocross are getting ready to roll out with the ever important start in cyclocross. And we're underway. And you can see several guys are able to get the jump on me from the start. I had a pretty good start. I was able to hit my pedal. But one thing I always try to watch out for is that I don't blow myself up with too hard of a start. That's something I've dealt with for many years as I've raced in the sport of cyclocross. The first lap, second lap are always important. Getting out, getting a good hard start, and making sure that you're staying connected with the people that generally are faster than I am. It'll help me create some separation. I'll be able to learn some better lines and practice my skills. And so that was one of my goals of the day, was to have a good start, make sure I was rolling with my crew and able to get some distance to the rest of the field. So here we've got a flyer off the front from Leaf, a group of us trying to establish our first lap speed. We got Mr. Smooth himself, Luke, rolling on my wheel, making it look super effortlessly. I don't know how he does it, but here I'm going up this little hill section trying to blast off over 700 watts, and Luke's just like, oh, whatever, no big deal. Today's course was a lot of fun. Tanner does an awesome job in making sure that the courses each week progress. We didn't have to get off our bikes. There was a little bit of hill climbing, nothing too crazy. A great way for us to reintroduce cyclocross into the system as we got back into the season. We've got, all the different crews out that normally race cross here in Tulsa. Big shout out to my team. We had a large number of people racing here in the A race as well as the other races. Chris in front of me, Chris behind me, Drew, Christopher in front of them. And we're all just trying to make sure we stay in contact with the guys that always seem to be successful in gapping me in these races. So Jake's pushing the pace. He's trying to get caught up there to Leaf. Luke was able to make the pass on me, and we are rolling into the start-finish line, completing the first lap. We had a little bit of a headwind here on the start-finish line. The temperatures were amazing on the day. Can't believe our first week of cyclocross here in Tulsa only had a high temperature, as you can see on the screen, of around 81 degrees. Chris is doing a great job in pulling us into that headwind, and Luke's going to take advantage of that as he pulls around him, trying to make sure he's keeping contact with the guys directly on the front. So now we're rolling into the second lap, and you can see Isaiah is coming up on my rear and is going to make a move and get past me, which usually happens in the race. He may start at the back, and he never has problems coming and getting around us to make sure he's keeping contact with that front group. So now the three of us, Chris, and I, continue to roll here on the second lap. We're going to make our way over the bridge and onto the back side of the course where it's more hilly. Every lap, it seemed, we were out of the saddle, really trying to put down the power. And no matter what we did, even by showing these good power numbers, those guys at the front were still able to pull away from us. So something to look forward to, something to work on, making sure that we're pairing good fitness here with all the skills that are needed to race cyclocross in a good fashion. So we're continuing to roll here on the second lap on the back side of the course. We got a nice group here. We've got a gap in front of us to the guys at the front, and we're just having fun, ripping turns, trying to keep our pace high, and yeah, just having a lot of fun. So you can see my heart rate from the beginning has been hovering here around 180 beats per minute. Cyclocross is hard. We all know that, and the data proves it. The funny thing is I can pretty much maintain 180 beats a minute for a whole hour in a cyclocross race, but it doesn't make it any easier, given the fact that I can hold that. So here I am. We're chasing Chris. He made the pass. He's rolling past Jake, and you can see that, with a really hard dig up that hill over 600 watts, Chris is still able to pull away from me and reconnect with that front group. So rolling in through here on the tail end of the second lap, this is the gap that ultimately gets established. I'm unable to reconnect with the group. They roll away, are battling with each other, and not too many people behind me actually continue to pass me in the race. That being said, though, Chris is making a big dig here. He is able to reconnect with me. We're going to roll through here on the third lap together and ultimately try and reconnect with that front group. But as I mentioned, it's not going to happen. The break is established, the gap is established, and we aren't able to reconnect with them. So we're approaching, 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes here in this race. As I mentioned earlier, I do have some corrupted files that come up, so we do switch over to only the rear camera for the remainder of the race. And I think that's a good point in time for me to stop this practice voiceover and let you continue to watch the remainder of the race with my data from a rear view, just enjoying the sights and sounds that are cyclocross. If you're in the Tulsa area and you ride any bike that can go even slightly off-road, really recommend you try and make it out to a Tuesday night cyclocross practice race at Anderson Park. It could be a gravel bike, it could be a mountain bike, it could be whatever. We'll make it work. Everyone's welcome, and the more people you have, the more fun it is to race these cross races. So with that, appreciate you spending time with me as I practice with some voiceovers, putting some data up on the screens, and playing around with a few different camera angles. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be here a week from now with next week's Tuesday night cyclocross race. Thanks.